Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio College Basketball Closing Time Show, Thursday, March 4th. Ian Cameron and Connor Mack ready to break down the college basketball slate, as we always do, from a betting perspective. If you missed the announcement yesterday, big news for this show here on Pub Sports Radio is that we're going to be on the air with this show live every day that there's games for the rest of the season, and we're looking forward to it. We're going to have a 3 p.m. Eastern show today and tomorrow on Friday. Remember, we don't normally have a show on Friday for college basketball, but tomorrow we'll be on 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. And then starting Saturday, every show the rest of the season is going to be 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. That's been our Saturday showtime this whole season. Well, it's going to be the showtime for every edition of the college basketball closing time show the rest of the season. Saturday, or 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, starting on Saturdays. So people in the chat, people that watch, I don't want to hear people having these horror stories where they go to the Pub Sports Radio channel at 3 p.m. next Tuesday and where's the show? Where's the show? No, that's why we're telling you right now, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. And if you can't watch it live at that time, show's always available for archived viewing on the YouTube channel. We're looking forward to that. We figured it was the right decision to do. It's the biggest time of the year in college basketball, and we want to give you guys coverage, of all these games, all these conference tournaments that are going to be going on in the next 10 days. And the only way we can do that is if we're doing a show every day. And that's what we decided to do. So we're looking forward to it. So we're on at 3 p.m. Eastern today and tomorrow, and then we shift to 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific with the show each day starting Saturday. So we're definitely looking forward to it. All right, let's get to Thursday. We've got conference tournaments. We've got regular season games. We're going to start. I'm going to bounce around today, the board a little bit, because we've got a couple games that are about to tip off. We're going to start with those. We've got the third of the 4 Atlantic 10 tournament second round games tipping off in about 20 minutes. It's Rhode Island taking on Dayton. We've got the Flyers 3.5, 4-point home not home favorites. It's neutral court in this one. 3.5, 4-point favorites, total 138 in this game. Dayton is that team, I think, that's underseeded here in this conference tournament. They're a 7 seed, but they're a better team talent-wise than that seed number. They had injuries galore this year. A lot of times Jalen Crutcher was all by himself, and there was a lot of his key players and teammates out, including Rodney Chapman, who came back down the stretch of the season. And Dayton started to play better. Look, Dayton beat a very good St. Bonaventure team on the road, where St. Bonaventure's been excellent to wrap up the regular season. That win told me that Anthony Grant's team, I think, is ready to perform here in the conference tournament. I like them laying the 3.5 here. Rhode Island is the polar opposite. They did not finish the season well. Jeremy Shepard, one of their key guards, is out. Fats Russell has been kind of not the same since he got banged up and injured earlier in the season. They limped down the stretch of the regular season. I think Dayton is the team that's going to not only advance, but maybe a team you ride. If they win today, I would probably look toward backing Dayton in the quarterfinals tomorrow and beyond here in this conference tournament. So I like Dayton laying the 3.5. I do lean over the total as well. These two teams are a combined 9-1 to the over in their last 10 neutral court games. They've also, Rhode Island especially, has trended over the total down the stretch. So I like the over 2, as well as Dayton laying the short number. Connor, what do you think here? Rhode Island, Dayton.
Yeah, I think the total, real quick, it could get there. It's already kind of steamed up, about 3.5, 4 points. I'd be a little cautious, but I think it could get there as well, the over here. I'm with you on the side. Dayton's playing their best basketball. I wish this was maybe not 3.5. I wish it was under 3. I feel a little bit better, pick them -1. But I have no confidence in Rhode Island. They just haven't played well, like you said, towards the end of the year. Fats Russell's hobbling around with that ankle or Achilles he's got going. So Dayton has been on fire. I'll roll with them with the -3.5 as well. I think they could win in here.
All right, so we'll get back to conference tournaments later in the show. We're going to do all the regular season games right now. In the next part of the show, we're going to start with Monmouth and Rider. Metro Atlantic basketball here. We've got Monmouth 5.5-point road favorites, 157.5, 158 the total. Rider's been a little bit more competitive lately, and I'm kind of interested in them as a home underdog here. The total is where I'm really focusing on, though. It has been bet up, and for good reason. Monmouth's going to go up and down. Both of these teams leave especially Ryder, leave a lot to be desired defensively. I mean, we've seen Ryder give up some hideous point totals. Monmouth can shoot it inside and outside. You're going to get pace on both sides. Ryder's kind of slowed it down slightly, but they're still an above-average tempo team. This total has been steamed up, and I fully understand why. I expect a high-scoring game. 154 is where it opened. It's 157.5, 158 now. It's getting up there, but definitely I wouldn't want under. It's over or pass for me in this game. Conor, what about you here? Monmouth, Ryder.
Yeah, I have nothing bet here. Some of these, I have never had the most success with this conference, and St. Peter's, Quinnipiac, Ryder. Monmouth's the better team. If I bet this, I just think 5's a little much. I think they can cover it, and they're going to go up and down. If I were to bet it, I'd take the over as well, like you said.
Yeah, Benjamin Martin saying Liberty's got to get their asses in gear. No, they don't. They don't have to. Not when you're on Kennesaw like I am. Hopefully they don't. Look, I mean, and we were talking off air about that game, Conor and I. Liberty, we know, is better than Kennesaw State. And on their best day, they can absolutely beat the snot out of Kennesaw State and win the game by 20 or 30 points. But the thing is, this is conference tournaments. The pressure's ratcheted up. These loosey-goosey bottom seed teams like a Kennesaw, they know this is probably their last game of the season. They're just going to go balls out, and relax and be, just throw it all out there on the court, leave it all out there on the court and see where it gets them. And none of the pressure's on them. Pressure's on Liberty. Liberty's the number 1 seed in this conference tournament here when it comes to the Atlantic Sun. There's pressure on them to make the tournament. So they're probably looking at it as, we're comfortable getting the win. We want to conserve our energy. We don't necessarily have to, crush this team. And Kennesaw actually had been covering some numbers down the stretch, but there's still a long way to go. If you have Liberty, you're not dead yet. They've just put together like a 8-0 run, and a 4-point lead for Liberty is now a 12-point lead. So look out now. I could see it coming right close to that number as Liberty's starting to show signs of pulling away in that game. But just like with Belmont yesterday, I took Edwardsville in that game. I just said you can't really lay 19.5, 20 points, even with these top seeds in a neutral court conference tournament environment. It's just very difficult. And we kind of saw that yesterday with Edwardsville getting the cover. See, they lost by 17. It wasn't even close, but they covered because they were getting 20 and they lost by 17. So it's just some of those point spread situations that you want to keep in the back of your mind when it comes to conference tournament time. Next up, we got St. Pete and Quinnipiac. This is cool. We never talk Metro Atlantic because we're never on a day usually with Metro Atlantic basketball. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they don't usually play Metro Atlantic at that time of year. We've got St. Pete -4, total 132 in this game. I mean, when you're looking at it here with St. Pete, this is definitely a team that should win this game. They're better than Quinnipiac. Quinnipiac, to me, kind of disappointing. They struggled with Marist in their last 2 games, and Marist was a bit shorthanded as well in that game. St. Peter's, they have not really been that dominant Metro Atlantic team I thought they would be coming into this season. They've had some really ups and downs, but I get the sense that at this time of year, we all thought St. Peter's had a chance to win this conference, that maybe this is the time they start rounding into form, getting their game going, playing their best basketball in March when it matters most. They've got the guard play. They've got the inside size in the paint. They play good defense. This is a good Pete's team on paper. I think they start playing like it. I agree with the line move here towards St. Peter's, and I would look to lay the 4, if anything, in this game. Conor, what about you here? St. Peter's, Quinnipiac.
Yeah, I'd only look one way, and that's St. Peter's here. They're the better team. Quinnipiac hasn't been good all year. Very disappointing. They're not a very good basketball team, but it's conference tourney. I just think St. Peter's is that much better. I think they can cover the 4. This could be interesting, though. This wouldn't be my favorite look. Let's just say I wouldn't be most confident in, but I think St. Peter's is the better basketball team here, and I think they can cover the short number in the -4.
All right, next up, we've got another Metro Atlantic matchup here. Fairfield, the Stags, they are taking on Manhattan Jaspers. We've got Manhattan 4.5-point home favorites, 124 the total in this game. Manhattan's been a nice little underdog. I took Manhattan a couple of underdog bets with them against Siena last weekend in Metro Atlantic, although a lot of that, and we'll get to Siena later, they're against Canisius. Siena's overvalued. They're struggling to cover numbers. They are another team that they haven't played quite to their level of capability in the conference season. And Manhattan took advantage of that. But now you got Manhattan laying 4.5. I do lean Manhattan because Fairfield is just a bottom feeder here in the Metro Atlantic. But Fairfield has also shown signs of being so undervalued because of their struggles that they've gotten inside the number a few times. They are a horrible offensive team. There's no question about that. They can't shoot straight. There's a reason this total is 124. It makes you just, always tempted to look over the total when you're dealing with 124s, with totals. But it's hard to do it with Fairfield. They're just such an offensively challenged basketball team. I haven't bet this game. It's a pass for me, just to lean to Manhattan. I do think they're the better team. It's just that they've not been as good laying points as they've been catching points. C-Mac, what's your thoughts here? Fairfield, Manhattan.
Yeah, this is a pass. Manhattan's better. I just don't want to lay this number between these two teams. And you're right, Fairfield. Both these teams at times can struggle to score. Manhattan's a bit better. I'd lean Manhattan, but I don't love it. I'd watch these games, especially these spreads right here at 4.5 today in the Metro. Maybe look towards something else that you feel more confident in.
Yeah, that's Metro, and there's one more Metro Atlantic game later on in the card. But right now, Middle Tennessee State, Florida Atlantic. We've got Florida Atlantic 8.5-point home favorites, 139.5 the total in this game. You talk about teams that have been a flat-out disappointment. Preston Spradlin's Middle Tennessee State team, they've just been absolutely not what I thought they would be. I thought they'd be an improved bunch this year. It just hasn't happened for them. And their offense, they go fast up and down the court, but they can't put the ball in the hoop. So what's that matter? You play fast, you just can't score half the time. They've struggled. Florida Atlantic, to me, certainly the superior team. Florida Atlantic's had some games where they've absolutely bombed inferior teams, and they're capable of doing that here. And then they've also had some games where they've just struggled to get by, against some middling teams here in Conference USA. So enough variance in their results that I'm pumping the brakes on laying the points, but I would look to the favorite, if anything, if I'm betting this game. I don't understand the total going up. I know Middle Tennessee plays fast, but they're terribly inefficient offensively. They can't score. I mean, I think this total's going in the wrong direction. I'm not Mr. Under, but I think this one could stay under the total. C-Mac, what do you think here? MTSU, FAU.
Yeah, I'd only look to play the under in this one if I had to. Florida Atlantic should be favored, but them covering 8.5, that's too big. That's not what I like to see. Can they get it done? And like you said, throughout the year, they've done it a few times, and other times they played some close ones. And Middle Tennessee State's just been a disappointment all year. They can't score. It's a struggle to watch them play sometimes. It's definitely lean. If I take this one, free bet, I would take Florida Atlantic and lay the 8.5.
All right. Yeah, I think we both agree. Lean Florida Atlantic, lean under. So we go from that to one of the big games on the slate tonight. Big 12 action, Oklahoma State, Baylor. Baylor 12-point home favorites, 148.5 the total in this game. I'm taking Oklahoma State. I mean, I've been racking my brain trying to bet against this team a couple times, Oklahoma State, and because I was on Oklahoma in both games against Oklahoma State, and Cowboys found a way to get it done. This is just a lot of points. Look, I know Baylor, kudos to them. Gutted out, great win in overtime against West Virginia. What a basketball game that was. That was so much fun watching that. It was intense. It was down to the wire. It was back and forth. Big plays, good defense, big shots made, thrilling game, went back and forth throughout. That was a really good college basketball game, Baylor and West Virginia the other day. But now you've got Baylor, 3 games since the COVID pause. They barely escape Iowa State at home, win by 5 as 24-point favorites. They lose to Kansas at Fog Allen. They escape with a 5-point win in overtime against West Virginia. This team is, now you're going to trust them to lay 12. And it's not only lay 12 and win by this kind of margin, but you're doing it against one of the hottest teams in the conference right now. Like, look at how Oklahoma State's playing. Mike Boynton's done a phenomenal job. Cade Cunningham, look, he's going up against a really good defensive team, but the last few games, nobody, no team, no defense has been able to contain this guy from scoring and shooting the ball and getting his looks at the basket in recent games for the Cowboys. And for as good as Baylor's, defense has been all season, it's been a lot more leaky since the COVID pause. Like, they gave up points to Iowa State. They gave up big points to Kansas. They gave up big points to West Virginia, even though they got the win. It was their offense. It was Jared Butler, Maceo Teague, and some of those shooters for Baylor that bailed them out in that game against West Virginia from another shoddy defensive game. So to me, I think Oklahoma State's got a real shot here in this game. I don't know about win the game outright, but giving me 12 points. Oklahoma State has only lost 2 games all year. Think about this, 2 games all year by more than 3 points. And they're getting 12 points here in this game. This is remarkable to me. I mean, I'm on Oklahoma State. Maybe Baylor just has one of those games. It all comes together, and it's one of those December, January Baylor games where they blow you out at home. But I'm going to bank on it that doesn't happen. I like Oklahoma State here plus 12. Smaller opinion on the over as well. We know Baylor's been kind of trending overs. The defense hasn't been the same since the pause, and Oklahoma State can score. And Oklahoma State's been flying over the total of late. So I like the over. I like Okie State. Connor, what do you think? Oklahoma State, Baylor.
Yeah, if the game's anything like West Virginia, they were just trading baskets. And I could see that with Cade Cunningham and Oklahoma State. Similar. I don't know. I'm sure at some point Baylor's want to see these games, how they've been playing, and clamp down their defense a little bit. I think it's a shit ton of points as well. I've been an Oklahoma State backer. I've been taking them just about every game. And I was so cautious. I did the last minute because I took Oklahoma State +5 the first game with Oklahoma. And I was but the money just kept going to Oklahoma. I thought I got way too much. So last minute, I just took a money line and they won. So it was pretty lucky. I think it's a ton of points. I remember the Baylor game when Auburn was playing its best basketball, was getting 14. Sharif Cooper was playing his best basketball. Oklahoma State's better than them. They hung in that number and covered. I think it's just too many. Could I see a Baylor blowout? But like you said, Oklahoma State hasn't been blown out too much. I'd rather take my chances. This is just value with the points, I think. So pure value play. So yeah, give me the +12 with Oklahoma State, and I'd lean towards the over as well. It's up there. But both teams have been trending over, so I can only lean that way.
Yeah, and Baylor clinched the Big 12 title, regular season title, with the win against West Virginia too. So you worry about that now after that big win. And Oklahoma State, now they got beaten pretty good by Baylor at home earlier this season, but Cade Cunningham did not play in that game.
Yeah.
He didn't.
He's the guy. He's a number one.
You got to factor in your handicap there, and this is going to be and Oklahoma State's now in the form that they weren't in back then, and they're going to have Cunningham today. So put it all together, and I think there's a very, very clear case to kind of like Oklahoma State here, +12 in this game. Next up, we've got Michigan State, Michigan. We got the Wolverines, 12-point home favorites, 140 the total. This is a big fat hell no am I standing in front of Michigan after that loss to Illinois. You know they're going to come out with a purpose. The last time they lost a game, they just destroyed their next opponent. And look, Michigan State would go a long way for Michigan State's tournament hopes to maybe pull off an upset here in Ann Arbor. I just don't see it happening. I don't see them scoring against this angry, very good Michigan defense that kind of had an off night the other night against Illinois. I just don't see them getting anything done. I don't see them getting any open looks. I see them struggling with the length and the defensive rotations that Juwan Howard's team throws at you. Again, you key in on Aaron Henry and you key in on a couple of these Spartan shooters, and you could just completely take this team's offensive flow away from them. And I think Michigan is going to be motivated to do that. And yeah, you could say Michigan State's motivated because they need wins like this, of this magnitude, of these kind of signature wins desperately for their tournament resume, which is hanging by a thread right now. But you could say Michigan's just as motivated, if not more, because they're off a bad loss. They would love nothing more than to say, you know what, we're going to be one of the nails in the coffin to Michigan State, our dreaded rivals, for you not making the tournament. We'd love to be the reason. We'd love for you to be smacked down here. Us smacking you down being one of the main reasons that keeps you out of the tournament. You don't think the Wolverine kids want to keep Sparty out of the dance? They'd love it. They would love nothing more. So for me, it's Michigan laying the points or nothing. I'm not betting the game, but for me, it would be Michigan -12 if I had to. What do you think, C-Mac? Spartans, Wolverines?
Yeah, I am not betting this one either. It's tough for me. I think it's a ton of points. Michigan's going to come out after that bad loss. I mean, especially at home, embarrassed. I think they come out here and kick ass. I just can't lay 12 with them. I know Michigan State hasn't been great. They played a little bit better lately. They're going to be up for this game, just like Illinois went in there, a little bit different, 2 top 5 teams. But this is a rivalry. I'm going to stay off. I have nothing here. I'd love to take the 12. If Michigan State, which has played a little bit better, and Michigan wasn't off that bad loss, I'd look to take 12 here with Michigan State, but I'm going to stay away.
All right, next game up, we've got TCU, West Virginia. West Virginia, 13-point home favorites, 142.5 the total. The tough overtime loss for West Virginia the other day against Baylor. You worry about the little hangover from that physical, exhausting, emotional basketball game. Very intense. We know they're better than TCU. We know they could blow them out if they're up for it and they bring their A game. I just don't know if we'll see West Virginia's A game, but I do know I don't want to back and trust TCU either. And same with the total. West Virginia overs have cooled off a little bit. You know, if they're flat today from that Baylor game, I don't know if I trust this game to go over the total, because you could see West Virginia, when you're flat, you're going through the motions. You don't always shoot well. And I sure as hell don't trust TCU to put up offense on the road against West Virginia. And the last meeting with these two teams stayed under the total. So it's a pass for me all around here. Connor, how about you? TCU, West Virginia.
Yeah, this one you just mentioned, TCU, if you were looking for an under killer, they've kind of been that team. Teams that have gone over here in the Big 12, you play TCU, the game will go under, except they had those 2 or 3 game stretch where they scored like 80 points and went to overtime with Missouri. But other than that, they've been back to the around 60 points a game for them, anywhere from 55 to 65. So it's tough because West Virginia has been a great over, but it's steamed down too, 4 points already. And on the side, it's 13's a lot. West Virginia struggled to cover big numbers earlier in the year, so it's a pass for me. I just don't have enough confidence in TCU right now to take the 13.
All right, next game we've got on the slate. We're going to move on to Canisius and Siena. Back to the Metro Atlantic here. Siena, 6-point home favorites, 140.5 the total. I agree with the total move going up. I think we see points. Canisius and Siena is a heated rivalry. It's Western New York schools. You've got Siena in Albany, New York, and you've got Canisius there in Buffalo. Western New York, like little rivalry here. You got a lot of that in this conference. I think it's going to be a hotly contested game. Canisius has been covering some numbers. It's been a very, very inconsistent year for Reggie Witherspoon's team, but they've started to play a little bit better in recent games. And Siena's been an overvalued team from a point spread standpoint. They've been on a dreadful ATS run. They've been overvalued. They've been priced too high. Their power rating is too high. I love Jalen Pickett on this team. He's an outstanding player for the Saints, but he's not gotten consistency from everybody else. Their defense has kind of gone in lapses in and out. I think we get a game here. I think, Canisius +6. I've been cashing tickets against Siena when they've been laying points recently. I think Canisius gives them a game here. I like the Golden Griffins +6, and I like the over as well here in this Metro Atlantic rivalry battle here. Connor, what do you like here, if anything, with Canisius and Siena?
Yeah, Canisius has been all overvalued all year. I've gone against them a few times. St. Peter's beat them once. That was in January, and I had Niagara against them, and they covered. I'd only look towards I think it just seems like they're always just a bit too favored, and they have a hard time. They're kind of like the Wright State. They're laying too many points. They're too overvalued. Who we talked about the other day, ended up losing to Milwaukee, who we had. So I'd only take the 6 with Canisius here.
All right, lean toward Canisius here with the +6 as well for Conor. Vanderbilt, Cincinnati. Cincinnati, 7.5-point home favorites, 145 the total. The number ticking up on Cincinnati here makes me think Scottie Pippen Jr. is a no-go tonight for Vanderbilt. There are some question marks about whether he's going to play. It's a weird game. I mean, it's another one of these very, very – there's a couple tonight, these odd, just crazy out of the blue non-conference matchups right at the end of the conference season. There's another one coming up that we'll talk about, but this is one of them, Vanderbilt and Cincinnati. I'd still lean to Vandy. They've been scrappy at times. They weren't their last game against LSU as they got destroyed by the LSU last game. But I've never been all that impressed with Cincinnati this year. I mean, Keith Williams is a good player. I don't think he's got a lot of help around him. It's just, to me, I'm not laying 7.5. It's, do I trust Vandy enough to want to take them? I lean to Vandy. I don't know if I'd want to back them, though, if Pippen doesn't go. So it's, for me right now, a pass with just a lean to Vanderbilt. How about you, Connor? Vandy, Cincy?
It's a pass for me as well. If Pippen's in, I'm on Vandy. And he's that much of a difference. He's basically their offense. And if he's in too, I look towards this over. Cincinnati hasn't been great defensively, and they've been kind of high scoring a little bit earlier in the year, maybe not so much now. But if he's in, I looked at 7.5 with Vandy and the over. It's all about him to me. If he's out, I don't even know. I take the points because I don't think Cincinnati should be laying 7.5 to anybody. They haven't been able to cover any type numbers as a favorite. So yeah, either stay off the game or hear news Pippen's in. Then I'll lead Vandy.
All right, next game on the slate, we've got Iowa State, Texas Tech. Texas Tech, 17-point home favorites, 138 the total in this game. Iowa State, I really like them in that spot against Texas senior night, and they still couldn't get the cover against Texas. They lose by 14. They were right there with a chance to get the cover, and they just couldn't do it. And now they're 17-point dogs on the road against Texas Tech, and now they're after senior night at home. They got to go on the road. I don't trust Iowa State here. No, I don't. But I don't want to lay 17 with Texas Tech. This is a very, very simple and easy pass for me. How about you, Connor? Iowa State, Texas Tech.
Yeah, it's a pass for me. If I had a free bet, I'd take the points with Iowa State. I just still can't trust Texas Tech laying these big type of numbers and covering. So free one, I'd take Iowa State. They just haven't got it done lately. Now they're going on the road, like you said. Yeah, quick pass.
All right, Iowa State UTEP taking on Kansas. We've got another weird, bizarre non-conference game. Kansas, 17-point home favorites, 135.5 the total. I think I'm going to go mining for units tonight. Let's get the pickaxe out. Let's go. Mine for units with the UTEP miners here in this game. Plus 17 in this one. To me, what incentive is there for Kansas to really bring it here? They're coming off the huge win against Baylor over the weekend. Yeah, Texas Tech does play Baylor next. Jansen in the chat. That is true. But that's not like Iowa State, to me, looked dead as a doornail the other night against Texas. That's the problem.
They look kind of rough. I take the points. Yeah. Free bet. I mean, I still kind of like. It's not one of my favorite looks. Taking 17.
Don't have to force. Besides, I like a lot of the conference tournament stuff, which we'll get to in a little bit. But yeah, this one I think UTEP's worth a look. They could get, like, from a talent perspective, they could get blown out. They had some ugly games on the road in Conference USA, and that makes you think, how are they going to handle Kansas? But I just don't think Kansas is. I think their give a shit meter for this game. Kansas is going to be down to like one or 2 out of 10. Like I just don't. And for Bill Self, it's going to be trying to get these guys fired up for this kind of game. And I just don't know if we're going to see that from this Kansas team in this kind of spot. So I'm looking at this as UTEP plus 17. It's not that I feel great or strong about the matchup or the matchup advantages for UTEP. It's not like they're going to have a ton, but I just think it's a straight spot play that Kansas just not going to be the kind of team that's enthusiastic enough to be trustworthy, laying 17 in this spot. A bizarre spot, in between beating Baylor and your final Big 12 game coming up later this weekend. For that reason alone, I'm on UTEP here for a bet plus 17. What do you think, Connor? UTEP, Kansas?
Yeah, this is bizarre spot and game. Early on, UTEP played well. They went to Arizona, only lost by 8. They beat Arizona State. They hung tough in non-conference. Yeah, they hung tough in non-conference. I mean, that's what I'd hope for here. I think I'm going to stay off. I take the points with UTEP. I'm going to stay off, though. You're right. Kansas has nothing to play for, but they're playing their best basketball. So I want nothing to do with it. And UTEP's starting to play well again, too, but they beat up on the lower tier teams, FIU, especially lately, some of those teams. So I'm going to pass on this one, but if I had to, I'd take UTEP on the points.
Yeah, UTEP recently would indicate that there's no way they're going to be able to hang with Kansas. But UTEP early in the season had those non-conference results against Arizona and Arizona State would have made you think, wow, they really made a great account of themselves in those games. So maybe a product, too, of Arizona and Arizona State taking them lightly, and maybe Kansas takes them lightly tonight. But anyway, I think it's worth it to take a chance here. with the Miners here with UTEP. Next up, we've got Arizona State, Colorado. Colorado, 10-point home favorites, 147 the total. For me, it would be the Buffaloes or nothing. I don't bet against Colorado at home. And I'm certainly not going to do it with this erratic, poor defensive team that Arizona State is. This is just a team that doesn't care about guarding their man consistently. It's been the detriment of this team all season long. This could be one of those instances where, yeah, Colorado, team total over for Colorado. If you can find that out there at various sports books, that's a bet that makes a lot of sense tonight. I could see them putting a big number on the board. Lean to the Buffs, though, for sure. Connor, what do you think? ASU, Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado here. It's 10, but they usually win by 10 or more at home. Arizona State, they played better lately, but they're just not good on the road. They're, they won a few at home. But going to Colorado, it'd only be them. I'd lay the 10 here with Colorado.
All right, next game we've got, let's see, Nebraska, Iowa. Iowa 17-point home favorites, 154.5 the total in this game. Now, Iowa's kind of trended under lately, and their defense has played a little bit better, but you're going to get very, very, very brisk pace both sides. Nebraska under Hoiberg play fast. Iowa does. Neither team's, great defensively, especially this Nebraska team. They've really struggled on the defensive end recently, so the total's gone up. I would lean that way. Just a small lean. Nothing that I'm going to get involved with, though, in this game here overall. What do you think, Connor? Nebraska, Iowa?
Yeah, this one's interesting. Nebraska's played a little bit better lately. At home, they beat Rutgers in Minnesota. They lost by 16 to Illinois. 3 at home to Penn State. I kind of got to lean to them. I haven't pulled the trigger. It's a ton of points. I think Nebraska's playing a little bit better basketball. It's just that they're on the road. If I've ever took Nebraska in the past, it's usually at home catching points. So small lean here. I don't know if I'll get to play it, but to Nebraska and catching the 17.5.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not looking to lay 17 with Iowa. That's for sure. Texas, Oklahoma. Oklahoma 2-point home favorites, 142.5 the total in this game. For Oklahoma, it stopped the bleeding time, stopped the pain mode for this team. A couple of really tough losses for them against their state rival, Oklahoma State, over the weekend, but not exactly playing as good the last few games, Oklahoma. On the flip side, yeah, Texas won and covered against Iowa State, but that's not saying a whole lot. Now they got to go on the road, face the Sooners. Sooners have been pretty good here in Norman. It seems to me a good buy low spot here for Oklahoma. It really does. I don't know if I trust Texas to go in there and win. I lean Oklahoma a little bit. Probably have a small bet on it, 2.5 in this game. But, for the Sooners, definitely, you would expect urgency to be at the forefront for them here to try to bounce back, get a big win in this one. Connor, what's your thoughts here? Longhorns, Sooners.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a buy low with Oklahoma. As long as I like 1 or 2, it's just a bucket here. I'm definitely on Oklahoma. I think Texas is overrated. I'm still not big on a high on them. I'd only be on Oklahoma here at the short number. I'd lay it at home with them. Texas, it's just they're still ranked, I think, too high. I think they're just overvalued. If they went in and won here tonight, I don't think they are. Oklahoma, I think they got to get it together. I was worried they were going to kind of hit a lull. They have with Lon Kruger these last 3 years. He's had some good years going. They kind of stopped midway through or at the end. I hope they bounce back tonight, and I think Texas is a team that can do it. So I'm going to lay the 2 with Oklahoma.
All right, we got Northern Colorado, Weber State. Weber State 10-point home favorites, 146.5 the total in this one. I am giving a look toward the Bears here as double-digit underdogs, Northern Colorado. I like them enough that I think they can compete in this game. I know Weber State's been outstanding of late. They've been great all season in the Big Sky. But Northern Colorado, they had a good coach last year. He left, but there's been really little drop-off this year. They've had a nice season. They can really bring it on the offensive end. They struggle a bit defensively, but when you're getting these double-digit dogs, and same thing in football as well. The bigger underdogs, I'd rather have the teams that can score touchdowns, put the ball in the basket for me, than the teams that really have to rely on getting stops, in terms of backdoor potential. I want those teams that can score a little bit. Northern Colorado can do that. I think there's enough that they can do here to hang inside this number and keep it a single digit margin. I don't know about win the game because Weber's tough, especially at home. But to me, I'm looking at Northern Colorado here at 10-10.5. What do you think, Connor? Northern Colorado, Weber State.
Yeah, I think Northern Colorado can hang around in this one. I think the 10-10.5 is just a bit too much. And I like Weber State, but Northern Colorado's, they've had some kind of bad losses, but they've all been pretty tight. I think it's been a little disappointing this year for Northern Colorado, but I'd grab the points with them, and I am. I'm going to take the plus 10-10.5 with Northern Colorado.
All right, UCF, East Carolina. We've got Central Florida, 3-point road favorites, 134.5 the total. Small bet for me on the UCF side. I just think East Carolina, I don't know if they're folding the tent or quitting. I don't know what word you want to use, but it's just been a complete and utter free fall downward for East Carolina down the stretch of the AAC season. And when you measure these two rosters up, I know Central Florida has kind of been disappointing too, but there's more talent and a better team, in my opinion, here with UCF. And the number's reasonable enough, just laying 3 on the road. I'm on UCF here. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, this is a pass for me. If I had a free bet, I'd take UCF. I mean, East Carolina hasn't played since what? February 8th? I mean,
forever. Yes.
Forever. They've been off. They had that big upset against Houston and then came back and lost to Memphis and to SMU. It's just a pass. They haven't played. So I want nothing to do with this game.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And that's the thing. We can always pick and choose as bettors. Wyoming and Utah State. Utah State, 16.5-point home favorites, 146 the total. Wyoming's another one of those teams. They've fallen off here down the stretch. Very young group. Showed some promise. Had a couple of good results earlier in the season, but hasn't been the same for them of late. But it's a lot of points to lay with Utah State. To me, I'd honestly take the points. It's just a lot to be laying with Utah State, but not enough confidence to actually go ahead with it. How about you, Connor? Wyoming, Utah State.
Yep, not enough confidence in Wyoming. I wanted give me 20, and I'd feel like maybe a little bit better. It's just a huge number. You see these numbers at the end of the year. It's a premium if you want to lay it. All these games like Colorado State, Boise State. We're seeing these in these huge numbers because the bottom's so bad in the Mountain West. So if I had to, I'd take Wyoming, but I don't love it. It's just a pass.
All right, next up, we've got Southern Utah, Portland State. Southern Utah, 2-point road favorites, 148 the total in this game. Southern Utah, I'm looking at them probably in this game. I thought this number should have been a little bit higher. I know Portland State at home's been capable at times, but to me, there's a little bit of a difference in the gap, and I think there's a bigger gap between these two teams than this point spread indicates. I like Southern Utah quite a bit. I think they've had a nice season, the Thunderbirds. Todd Simon's a really good coach there. They have a great offense, very efficient, spread the ball around, shoot out good percentage. This number being just 2, almost a straight-up win situation. I like the T-Birds here, Southern Utah, to get the job done. What do you think, C-Mac? Southern Utah, Portland State.
Yeah, I have a small lean. I think Southern Utah is a little bit better, but I'd look more towards the total. I think this one can get over. Southern Utah, they can get up and down and score a bunch. I think it can get over this 148.
All right, liking the over there, if anything, in that game. All right, next up, we have got that's the main board, added board, and then we'll go to conference tournaments. I save the best for last, the conference tournaments. As far as the added board goes, I lean a little to Prairie View A&M -6.5 against Southern. They've been a very good team this year. I don't know if Southern can hang in for 40 minutes against them. Numbers coming down on Jackson State against Alabama A&M. I kind of think Jackson State now, if that number comes down even further, might be worth a look, laying the 7.5 there. And Nichols State against McNeese State. There we go. I like plus the points there with McNeese State. I think that's a very, very competitive game. McNeese State's coming on down the stretch, playing better. I also like over the total in that game, 152.5 with Nichols and McNeese. So There you go. I like Prairie View A&M. Jackson State, I'm almost about to take them. And I like McNeese State plus the points and over against Nicholls State. Anything for a Conor on the added board?
Yeah, someone asked in the chat about Bellarmine against Stetson. Stetson's played pretty good. I've liked Bellarmine. I've took him in a few spots. I think 6 is just a kind of a weird number. I think they're the better team, but I don't know if they could cover there. I like Lipscomb -5. I think they can get it done over Florida Gulf Coast. And I like Alabama State. I know Grambling has played a little bit better, but I think that's too big a number. So I'll take the +7 with Alabama State. That's it.
Right, good stuff there. Yeah, those are wait a minute, Bellarmine. Yeah, those are conference tournament games. Yeah, might as well talk about them. Yeah, Florida Gulf Coast, Lipscomb, Stetson, and it's Bellarmine. Apparently, I was calling them Bellarmine for the longest time, but it's Bellarmine.
Yeah,
Bellarmine, so. 6-point home favorites. I like Bellarmine enough. I don't want to go against them. I'm surprised it got to -6 because a lot of my numbers only had it -3.5, 4. But I like Bellarmine. That's a well-oiled machine offensively. They have great ball movement. They spread the floor. Spacing is excellent. It's fun to watch them execute. Remember, they beat Notre Dame or came close to it earlier this year as well, non-conference. That's a good basketball team. I just don't want to go against them. I don't argue there's a little value with Stetson, the Hatters, but I'm not involved in that. Lipscomb, I think, beats Florida Gulf Coast, but I'm telling you what, the artist formerly known as Dunk City, FGC, they're always a little tricky for me to go against them when they're taking significant points, in these tournament games. But I do think Lipscomb is, obviously one of the best. Them and Liberty, I think it's going to come down to the two of them in the Atlantic Sun Conference tournament. Liberty is going to get the win, but it doesn't look like they're going to get the cover against Kennesaw State. They're up by 11 with 55 seconds left. So might be a winner there for yours truly with Kennesaw State plus 17.5 in that game. So there we go. All right. So there's the added board. There's the ASUN tournament. Oh my goodness. We're going to need to drink of water soon, but there's the water. A little bit drink of water here because the voice is starting to go on me here a little bit. Just a second. All right, let's keep it going. West Coast Conference Tournament. Orleans Arena, Connor, your neck of the woods in Las Vegas. Every year this tournament, the West Coast Conference Tournament. We've got the first round tonight. San Diego, San Francisco. We've got the Dons, 7-point favorites, 142 the total. I like San Diego here. The Toreros getting the points. San Francisco's been a money burner. They can't be trusted as favorites. San Diego, obviously has had a tough season themselves, but they competed well enough against San Diego. In fact, they covered against San Francisco head-to-head earlier this season. You look at the Dons, they've just been brutal as chalk lately. Their offense, I don't know what's happened to Todd Golden's team on the offensive end of the basketball court. This team is just, their shooting's gone down. They struggle to generate offense and generate points consistently. And that's a problem, in my opinion, when you're laying 7.5 on a neutral court in a conference tournament like this. Give me the Toreros here. This has been a money-burning Dons team. I think the Toreros are the side that can keep this game competitive here. What do you think, Connor? San Diego, San Francisco?
Yeah, I think it's too many for a San Francisco team that's just hit the skids, hit the shits. I mean, they lost to Pepperdine by 6. Pacific, which I'm not too fond of, but in certain spots have played well, by 10. They got blown out by Gonzaga a couple times. The lone win in there was at Santa Clara by 11. I'd only look to take the points. I haven't bet it yet, but that'd be my lean. San Diego's going a little bit this way. San Francisco's gone like this as we look towards the end of the year, heading down. So I'd lean to taking the points for San Diego.
All right, the next game, please don't watch this game or bet at this next game because I'm not watching it or betting it. Portland and Santa Clara. We've got Santa Clara 13.5-point home favorites, 143.5 the total. It's the same damn thing, and it's like the same script I'm reading every time I talk about Portland. I can't take Portland. I am not taking Portland. They are that bad. They're getting blown up by 20+ every game. But here's the issue. Santa Clara is barely any better. And they're laying 13.5, and they have not won any games by double digits. Look at Santa Clara's schedule. They haven't won any games by double digits, but I sure as hell can't trust Portland. So, yeah, this is just a game that's easy for me to say, stay away from it. Don't watch it. It'll make your eyes bleed. Don't bet it. It'll probably burn a retina through your bankroll. It's just, not worth it. Not worth it. And you know what? I'll be watching a little bit San Diego, San Francisco. That game's got at least a little bit of juice to it. Not this one. Someone, and whoever wins this game, I think you just bet against them the next game because they're going to get absolutely whipped probably by who they play in their next WCC tournament game. But yeah, I'm passing on this one. I cannot trust or endorse either side. Conor, what's your take here? Portland, Santa Clara, a thriller to be sure.
Right away, Portland. They've gotten blown out by 20 every game, I think. So you're right away. I think Santa Clara. But yeah, as you dig in, the more they haven't too great. If I had a free bet, I would take Santa Clara, and that's crazy because they haven't been able, to beat or counter one, just like you said. So if I had to, Santa Clara, I'd lay it, but it's 13.5. It's a ton. Just if I had to, that'd be my free bet, would be Santa Clara. I'd lay the points.
All right, we go to the Missouri Valley Tournament. It's getting underway tonight at St. Louis Enterprise Center. It's always there, Arch Madness, they call it, in St. Louis. Missouri Valley Tournament, first round matchups. The first of the two tonight, Southern Illinois and Bradley. Southern Illinois, 2.5, 3-point road favorites at neutral court. Total 127. Wow. Southern Illinois didn't play well down the stretch. They did give Loyola Chicago some tough games. That's the good news. But prior to that, they were really, really scuffling. And now you got to lay points on a neutral court with them. Another offensive team that's compromised. One of their better offensive players as well, guards, not going to play tonight for the Salukis. So that's a concern. However, on the other side, Bradley's just been a decimated mess, crippled by injuries and COVID issues and suspensions, and go on down the list. 3 of their top 5 scorers have been missing for the better part of the last few weeks. However, that being said, my number only had this near pick'em. And you can get 3 now with Bradley on a neutral court. And the one thing about Bradley is they're decimated from a personnel standpoint, but their effort's been, admirable. They haven't rolled over down the stretch. And to me, it's just more of, I don't know if I have that utmost faith and confidence in the Salukis as chalk in a neutral court conference tournament game. So there's definitely, to me, the numbers are telling me I should take Bradley. Yeah. My own numbers tell me there's value on Bradley. I don't know if I will, but I'm definitely thinking long and hard about it because to me, Bradley is the value side here. What do you think here, Conor, with SIU and Bradley?
Both teams with injuries. The Salukis, I can't all year. You can't lay points with it. No way. Not on a neutral court. I know Bradley's missing those guys, but they're scrappy. I mean, they lost to Drake by 9 and they beat them by 6. The total's low. I'd still look towards this under. I think it will be a rock fight, crawl to maybe 60. Both
Makes
teams.
Sense. Yep. Yeah. And this has been a historically under tournament, this Missouri Valley tournament. A lot of unders over the years.
A lot of unders. So I'd lean to this under 127, and I'd lean to take in the 2.5 here if you want to wait. The Salukis, they're not that good. Believe me, I took them all. I've watched them pretty well. I don't think they should be laying this number. I think Bradley's scrappy. They got a little more fight. I think it was more of a pick 'em. I'm surprised by all the money that's been moved to the Salukis. I think Bradley can fight here. I'd rather take the points than lay it here.
I do too. I'm with you. Yeah. Bradley, it's the Braves or nothing for me in this one. Illinois State, Northern Iowa, the second of the first round games in the Missouri Valley tournament tonight. The Northern Iowa Panthers, 6-point favorites, 139.5 the total. Been a rough year for Miller here, Dan Miller in the Illinois State Redbirds. They've had a really, really difficult season. Not what we're used to seeing, because usually Illinois State, is in that upper half of the Missouri Valley, and it's just didn't happen for them this year. It's been a rough year for this group. They have shown the ability at times to perk up and cover a couple of numbers here and there, but now we're talking, 6 points that they're getting. And I've not been a big fan of Northern Iowa because Northern Iowa's not really had the same kind of year since Green got injured early in the season. They had to take a lot of adjustment period to be without him for as long as they were going into that game. But Northern Iowa is a team that I thought they did get better. as the season progressed, they finally started to adjust to life without their best player. And, down the stretch, they won 3 of their last 4. They just beat Illinois State twice. 70-56, 94-87 in overtime on the road. So we'll see if they can make it a third straight time. It's weird because they finished the regular season playing each other, these two teams, and now they're playing each other here in the first round of the Missouri Valley Tournament. Illinois State, in terms of the point spread, just 2 and 4 against the spread their last 6 games. As I mentioned, losing the 2 in a row to Northern Iowa here in this game. It's a dicey handicap. It really is, because Illinois State took them to overtime the last game. But to me, there's still a talent edge for Northern Iowa. I think they win the game. I'm pretty confident Northern Iowa advances and wins this game. But I just don't know if I want to lay 6, and I don't know if I'm getting enough with Illinois State to take them. So it's a pass. I think Northern Iowa wins because I think they win. Sometimes in these conference tournaments, predict the winner, and they'll cover the number as well, regardless of what the number is. Sometimes this could fall into that category. If Northern Iowa wins, they could win by margin. So I lean to Northern Iowa -6, but I don't love the number. And I, in general, don't like laying bigger points in neutral court conference tournament games. I'd rather bet short favorites or underdogs, not necessarily moderate favorites. So for me, it's only a lean to Northern Iowa. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, it's been a rough year for Northern Iowa. They've been just better at home. To me, they played a little bit better at the end of the year on the road. I don't know. They just finished the year with them, playing them twice. They both won. The last one was close. Illinois State they're like I don't know, I kind of like the Missouri Valley MAC team. They're erratic. They're a good game, bad game. It's hard to consistency with them. There's no way I'd lay 6 right now with Northern Iowa. I would take the points with Illinois State. Third time they've seen these guys. They just played them a couple times in the last week. Give me the points with Illinois State here. I think they keep it close.
All right, so lean into Illinois State here, the Redbirds, to get the job, at least remain competitive against Northern Iowa. Ohio Valley Conference Tournament next up. First round matchups. Who would have thought we'd see Murray State in the first round? Not even good enough to get a bye, through to the next round of the Missouri Valley, Ohio Valley Tournament. But here we are. Murray State, Jacksonville State. Murray State, 3-point favorites here, 139 the total. In this game. What am I thinking, actually? There's no buys in this conference tournament. That's why they're playing in the first round, because Belmont's played in the first round last night, too. There's no buys in this conference. Now it makes sense. I'm like, Murray State, a first round? They don't have buys in the Ohio Valley Tournament. Look, Jacksonville State getting points. I've said this a bunch, you and I. We've talked about the Ohio Valley because they play on Thursdays, and we've done the show every Thursday. I don't like going against Ray Harper's Jacksonville State team. Gritty, feisty, good defensive team. Can make shots when they have to. In fact, I thought they played better offensively down the stretch. And I don't trust Murray State. The Murray State has shown little glimpses of being that, top echelon team in the conference that we thought they could be. And then there's other times they've had these terrible, inexplainable losses. And hell, Jacksonville State's already beaten Murray State once this year. To me, this on a neutral court, getting 3 with Jacksonville State in a game that I think is a legit coin flip, could go either way. That's the way you got to think these conference tournament games. Yeah, you can make cases for both teams winning, but where is the number? And to me, you can get 3 on Jacksonville State in a game they've got every bit as much chance to win, in my opinion, as Murray State, who have been overvalued all season. So I'm on the Jacksonville State side here. The Gamecocks, not South Carolina, the Jacksonville State Gamecocks here, +3. I like their defending, their ability. They can frustrate some of those guards of Murray State like they did when they beat them during the regular season. Yeah, I like JSU here, +3. I think there should be pick 'em. You give me 3 with Jacksonville State, I'm taking it. What do you think, Connor? Murray State, Jacksonville State.
Yeah, you're going to give me 3. We were on last week. We had Jacksonville State. They beat Murray State both times this year.
Yes, you're true. Yep.
Both times. So you got to take them here. I mean, maybe the third time, think Murray State, but why would you want to lay points?
I don't buy that. I don't buy it's hard to beat.
I don't buy it.
3 times. If it's a matchup edge, it's a matchup edge. If it's a value in the number on that team, it's value in the number. And to me, the value in the number is Jacksonville. The
value is with Jacksonville. Totally agree. I think they could win it outright again if you don't want to, take the 2.5 or 3, lay it money line. I looked towards the over. The first one flew over, and this total's at sorry, I need some water. The total's at 139. And last meeting was 75.67. So it's just right there. I think it can get over that number. Both, I think we can get over 139. So not only do I like Jacksonville State here, points, money line, but I like the over in this game as well.
Yeah, speaking of games I like to get over the total, nice segue to our next Ohio Valley tournament game. Austin Peay and Eastern Kentucky. And Eastern Kentucky's been my little over darling for the better part of the last several weeks here. We've got Eastern Kentucky 2-point favorites, total 157 to 158, and this total's been bet up from 155, but people see what I see. You know, all Eastern Kentucky does is go over the total. Every game just about. I think there's one game that stayed under in the last 10 or 11 for the Colonels of Eastern Kentucky. That's about it. You know, other than that, this team has been, and they are a fun team to watch. I mean, they just sprint down the court when they get the ball. They love playing in transition. They play ultra fast, 9-1 to the over, or 8-1 to the over, I should say, in their last 9 games. Austin Peay, to me, is that team that's got some better basketball in them here with the conference tournament about to begin. It may not look that way. They've lost 3 in a row. I get that. And to me, the thing that I come back to, because you look at current form, you're saying, how the hell is Eastern Kentucky only 2-point favorites here? Look at how well Eastern Kentucky's played. Austin Peay's been a bit of a disappointment. They're only 14-12 overall. Austin Peay was thought of as being on the same playing field as Belmont, you know, as a favorite to win this conference. But what I like about Austin Peay is there's a bunch of things. I think this is fishy as hell that Eastern Kentucky, first of all, is only -2. That's telling you something right there. And second of all, the strength of Austin Peay is the backcourt, led by Terry Taylor. The guy can flat out shoot the basketball. If there's
guards,
a team that can all of a sudden get hot because they've got the guard play in the backcourt, and especially the superstar guard like him that can just shoot his team right into a game and carry the team offensively, make big shot after big shot, it's Terry Taylor with Austin Peay. And even after losing 3 in a row to end the season, I think Austin Peay could be one of those teams that, and always sometimes in these conference tournaments, not always, but often you'll get examples of these teams that just flip a switch. They're mediocre all regular season, and then all of a sudden, conference tournament, they flip that switch and things start to work. I've got that real gut feel that happens for Austin Peay, and I'm on them here at +2. And to me, I'm on them too because this number should be higher based on current form. Current form means Eastern Kentucky should be about 3.5, 4, kind of like where Dayton is against Rhode Island in their game today, and yet they're only laying 1.5, 2. And it's worth noting this opened 3 on Eastern Kentucky and right away got bet down to Austin Peay. So people seeing what I'm seeing, you got a really talented backcourt, even though the team is underachieved. The talented backcourts that can shoot, they can make big shots. Those are the teams that have success in conference tournament time. And I could see that here. And the one thing about Eastern Kentucky is there's still no great shakes at the defensive end of the basketball court. In fact, they're worse defensively than Austin Peay. You know, they are. They've given up more points per game defensively than Austin Peay. I think Austin Peay's live here. I'll take the +2. And, you know, from a totals perspective, 8-1 to the over for Eastern in their last 9 games. I've been on a bunch of those overs, and I'm on it again here, even at a high number, 157. So I like Austin Peay in the over here. What do you think, Connor, with this one?
I lean over, but it's gotten steamed here. 157, 158. Man, this is a tough one. They both split the series. Eastern Kentucky's been playing well as of late, but I'm not gonna bet this one. I don't see any betting edge. I don't have enough trust in Austin Peay lately. And Eastern Kentucky, they're good. I think the line's about right. It's just a pass for me. Nothing on this one.
All right, nothing wrong with that. A pass for Connor Mack with that game. All right, that is. I think we've gotten through everything. Did I miss one? Oh, we do. George Washington and George Mason, the last of the Atlantic 10 tournament games. We've got George Mason, 7.5-point favorites, 135 the total. I think it's too many points. Even though George Washington played yesterday, beat Fordham, and George Mason's the more rested team here, George Washington took George Mason down to the wire just recently, and I was on GW in that game, and I like Jamion Christian. This is the kind of guy that at Mount St. Mary's, at Siena, and now here with George Washington, he gets it done at conference tournament time. And there's a lot of points to be given. A good coach, a solid defensive team, a George Mason team that's erratic shooting the ball. Give me George Washington here, plus 7.5. I think it's a close competitive game. What do you think, CMAC, GW, GM?
Yeah, they just lost last week by 5 to George Mason. To me, George Mason would be like a favorite, but to me, like 3-4. So there's value here. It's too many points. And we talked about down the stretch, George Washington played well. Not only covered, but won a few games a lot better than they started out this year. So give me George Washington, first president. Give me the 7.5 points.
All right, there you go. George Washington, the Colonials, plus 7.5 against George Mason. All right, we've gotten through regular season games, all the conference tournament games, and get ready for this, folks, and get ready for us to be losing our voices like we both have on the show today, because we're going to be here 7 days a week or every day that there's games the rest of the college basketball season. But we're ready for it. Reminder, we're on tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. It'll be our final show at the 3 p.m. Eastern time slot tomorrow. The rest of the season starting on Saturday, we'll be on the air at 11 a.m. Eastern in the morning, 8 a.m. Pacific, breaking down the games daily so that we can get all those afternoon games in before they start. So make sure you join us here. College basketball closing time show each and every day throughout the month of March, as long as there's games taking place that day. You're going to have a couple days, like after the first weekend of the NCAA tournament, you're not going to have games on the Tuesday and Wednesday, so we won't have shows those days. But every day that there's games on the board, we will be here throughout the month of March. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to best bets in just a second, because Conor and I are off back-to-back 2-0 sweeps with college basketball closing time show best bets. We'll look for a third straight sweep with those tonight. But before we get to that, Conor, what do the sponsors have for us today?
Oh, yeah, Anthony, Sunday too. We will be 7 days a week. Yep.
Sunday, 11 a.m. as well. Yep, we're here.
Yeah. Groovy Caps. I'm sure Baylor could win by 15. To me, the values with Oklahoma State and all those points. I mean, if they won by 15 or more, I wouldn't doubt it, but I don't know if anyone else likes it in the chat. But all right, everyone needs another book. Go to mybookie.ag at promo code PubSports. Get 50% off use your debit or credit. Get 100% off. Use the Bitcoin. Put in the Bitcoin, transfer it back over. Put it 1,000, you get 1,000. Or at least minimum of 100. Put 100, you get 100. Mybookie.ag, hit promo code PubSports. And go to bulksupplements.com, hit promo code PubSports. You get 5 to 10% off your order. Get all the creatine, protein, amino acids, all that stuff to keep you jacked up. And go to manscaped.com, get 20% off your order. Get all the good stuff, the tree trimmer. Keep everything trimmed up, face, downstairs, undercarriage, as Nick likes to say. I don't know why he says that, but I had to steal that from him. Keep your undercarriage trim, okay? Manscaped.com, 20% off your order, and use all the deodorants and oils they got as well. So manscaped.com, 20% off, promo code PubSports.
Yeah, keep your treasure in the chest, so to speak. Yeah,
your undercarriage trimmed.
That's right. There's a bunch of different expressions.
We could go. I'm just stealing his there.
For metaphors for shaving your, nutsack and all that stuff, but, and shaving your hair and all that. Yeah. Nevertheless, good stuff there. Hopefully more good stuff with the best bets. It's been a good run, Conor. What have you got lined up for best bet tonight?
Here, let me see. See if I can get 6 in a row. I'm going to go Oklahoma -2. I think they get it done tonight. They need it desperately. I'm not high on Texas too much. Oklahoma at home -2. Some people, if you don't like it, money line it. I don't mind it. I think they can get it done. So -2 Oklahoma tonight to beat Texas up.
All right. Oklahoma -2 against Texas. That is going to be the best bet here for Conor tonight in college basketball action. Oh, you know what? Before I get to best bets, there's 2 games we missed. The Big South Conference Tournament. My goodness, Campbell and Radford, Longwood and Winthrop. I like Campbell +2.5. I think Campbell is live against Radford, the Highlanders. I think Campbell Camels playing their best ball. They're red hot down the stretch. They won against Gardner-Webb in their first Big South Conference tournament game to get to the semifinals. I think they're live 2.5. I like Campbell there. Look, it's not easy to go against Winthrop. You saw what they did the other night against High Point, but Longwood Lancers, that took them the other night. They're red hot point spread machine right now. And all they got to do is compete, battle, hang in there, like Kennesaw State did with Liberty this afternoon. That's all they got to do. And I think they've got the performance level to do that right now. I don't think they're going to beat Winthrop. Winthrop is a terrific basketball team, but they can hang within 13. I like Longwood there, getting 13.5. I also agree with the total movement up. I like the over with Longwood and Winthrop as well. So there you go, Big South Conference Tournament. We almost forgot those two. Conor, what about you in those two games? Anything?
I would go with Longwood. Winthrop, like a Wright State. I mean, they're laying always huge numbers. And, sometimes they cover, but I think it's a ton of points. I would only be on Longwood. And I'm agreeing with Campbell. I'd take the 2.5. I mean, they might beat them outright. I think they're playing a little bit better basketball right now than Radford.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm glad. Yeah, and you know what? I'm glad I remembered that Campbell's playing good ball and remember to talk those two games because that's exactly where I'm going for best bet tonight. Camels plus 2.5 against Radford. That's going to be my best bet. I like it. I actually posted it on Twitter earlier today as one of my Twitter plays. I like Campbell plus 2.5. Again, this team's red hot straight up in ATS. Radford's one of those teams that is methodical offensively, but not always the kind of team that can pull away from you and win going away. Hampton just was brutal in the last game that Radford won. I think that was more Hampton. The Pirates were just terrible. It was the shipwrecked for the Hampton Pirates in that game. But I think this time around with Campbell surging, playing their best ball of the year, full of confidence, and again, the down to the wire game is what I envision, and you can get 2.5 points with them. Definitely, I'm going with that. So let's go with Campbell plus 2.5 against Radford. Big South semifinal. That'll be my best bet for this Thursday, March 4th edition of the Pub Sports Radio College Basketball Closing Time Show. That'll wrap it up. Thank you to everyone for watching. We appreciate it. Tons of views today, as always. Thank you. And a reminder, 3 p.m. Eastern Friday. Yes, this is going to be our first Friday show of the season tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. It'll be our last show at that time slot. And then we move to 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, starting on Saturday with this show. So make sure you join us for the rest of March. We March of Profits, not the March of Dimes. It's the March of Profits. That's what we're looking for here in college basketball. What a time of year, wall-to-wall basketball, afternoon and night, lots of opportunities. Looking forward to the rest of the season and doing these shows each and every day here at Pub Sports Radio. For Conor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll see you again tomorrow on Friday for another edition of the Pub Sports Radio College Basketball Closing Time Show.